Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you say you're Quinn and then I'm Claudia, or do I say I'm Claudia and you're Quinn? Are you gonna wave?
No, just go.
Okay. I'm Claudia.
And I'm Quinn.
And we're engaged.
I didn't like that stupid ass.
Oh my god! What the fuck are you talking about? So I'm Claudia.
And I'm Quinn.
And we're engaged and we're having a baby, and this is our story. So basically, we're making this video because because we don't know a lot of people in our situations that are our age. We're only 21. Wasn't planned, wasn't the way this was supposed to go, but we're in it together, and we just don't have a lot of people we can relate to on that level. Most people we know that are having kids or that have kids aren't together, or like aren't planning on being together. So we wanted to reach out to that young crowd that is together and that want to do it together with their kids. And this is kind of for them, and for them to learn from us and us to learn from everyone else. So getting into how we met.
We met through a mutual friend. Kinda. A while ago. Like a while ago.
Yeah.
They played volleyball together, and our mutual friend at the time had like told me to come to one of their games, and I was like, nah, okay. So I went. I wasn't going to watch any volleyball. I was scouting and saw this one. Long story short, she had a boyfriend at the time, so I was like, I'm cool. Boom, so some years go by. That was when we were what, like 16, 17. Around there. So some time goes by, and fast forward to what? Last March, April-ish? April. I came across her page on Twitter, and at first I was like, man, she looks hella familiar. Like, who is this? And so I was like peeping her page, and I was like, oh, she looks, solid. So let me follow. She didn't even pay attention to much of this, but I was like, oh, she's like liking my retweets and like my tweets and stuff. I was like, man.
I only followed back because I knew of him through our friend. So I was like, oh, this is so-and-so's friend. Like, I know who that is, kinda. Like, just out of like, I know of him. Like, we'll probably cross paths one day.
Yeah.
So I followed him back, and yeah, he was retweeting stuff. I guess I was liking it. I didn't know that.
And so one day, I was chilling with my friend Nigel, and we were just, kicking it, doing whatever. And I was telling him about it, and he was like, bro, you gotta hit her up. And I was like, nah, she's not gonna respond. I'm cool. Like, I'm good. And then whatever, he finally convinced me to. And then I did. I sent her a gif of Forrest Gump, right, going like this. And that's all I said.
You said hey.
Oh yeah, I said hey with that. And she responded like right away, so I was like, and then I said some corny stuff, and then what did I say? I was like, oh, you're fine, and you replied fast.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? I thought I was being smooth. I wasn't.
No, not at all.
And then so she responded like 2 hours later, and I was like, oof.
I was in class for an hour and 15 minutes.
I was like, oh, brother.
Yeah. And I don't have my notifications on Twitter, so like I didn't even think twice until I checked Twitter. I think I had to have been back in my dorm by that time. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, like I was in class.
She's like, I was in class, and then I was like, oh, I don't have my notifications on Twitter or like my socials, whatever. I was like, but like, let me get your number.
So I was just like, I can give him my number because I wasn't gonna go back to Twitter every like 10, 15 minutes because I'll forget and just see like another message. And I honestly didn't want to be rude and like lag the entire time. So I was like, you know what? Here's my number. So I gave it to him.
Funny story about me not having my notifications on. I lied.
Yeah. He still has his notifications on.
I still have them on. I got her number, and we were texting for like a couple weeks.
And mind you,
casually.
But I was in Sacramento at school.
I was getting there.
Oh, but that was before we were. I already told you, remember? Because you asked me out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in Sacramento." But you said we have been texting for weeks. Okay, go back to what you were saying. I want to interrupt you more. Go ahead. Rewind.
So yeah, I got her number. We were texting for a little bit, and I asked her out, right, like a gentleman. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'd be down, but like I'm in Sacramento," and I was like, "All right, that's cool." I kind of like was like, "All right, well, you know, we'll just kick it when you get home, I guess."
Yeah, and it was I was gonna be home in 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah,
for my
2
sister's
weeks.
graduation, so.
And then like as the days go by, we started like texting more and more, and like talking about more and more stuff, and like just getting a little more like, I guess, comfortable with each other. And then
Effortlessly.
yeah, like that. She was at open gym one day for volleyball, and we like joked about me coming to go watch her play, right? And then like jokes soon were no longer jokes, and then so that like this week of the first week of May.
It was the end
like
of
last week of April, beginning of May. We had like
pulled a plan out of our ass.
Yeah, we basically had like just put this whole little plan together about me coming up there. So like on a Friday, I was gonna leave work early and go up to Sacramento.
Yeah, and then that's the next day for Saturday. I switched shifts so I didn't have to open, and I ended up closing so we could spend like the day together. But I still worked that Friday, but like coordinated so that by the time he came up, I was getting off work. So yeah, we had this whole thing planned, and we had talked about him coming up on Thursday, and then cut to the next day he was coming up. So this was a very impromptu.
This was like a less than 24-hour plan.
Yeah. So we planned it all. We got a motel room at Motel 6 in Sacramento.
Shout out to Motel 6.
Yeah, right by Sac State. And I had roommates, so he couldn't stay in my dorm.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, like, well, whatever, I'm going to come up there. And she was like, so where are you going to stay? And I was like, oh, all right, I'm the homie. So fast forward to Friday, I leave work early for a family emergency.
Like 2 hours into your
Yeah,
shift?
I was like, I worked like 11 to 7 and I left at like 2. And I was like, alright, cool, I leave at 2, I'll get there by like 8:30 or 9. So I'm on the freeway and I'm cruising, flying down the freeway. Hours are going by, she's working, so time's flying, right? And I get to King City, California. This is when there was like a bunch of fires and stuff going on too.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm like flying. I get to King City and I see like everybody start hitting their brakes like one lane at a time, and I was like, oh man, there's probably like an accident or something, whatever. And then it just comes to a complete stop for like 2.5 hours, 2 hours. And basically there was like a fire right next to the freeway, so they had everybody get off of this one exit. Everybody had all 4 lanes had to go all the way to the shoulder and get off of this one exit, drive 5 miles down some dirt road, and then turn left, then turn right, and drive until you see the freeway. Okay. So I'm like, keep in mind, this whole time I'm like sitting in my car in traffic. I'm like, man, like I should have just stayed home. Like, I was like thinking like, dude, I should have stayed at home. Like, I shouldn't have done this. I should have just stayed at work and got my money. Like, so I called Nigel and I was like, man, bro, I'm about to go home. Like, I can't do this. And he was like, no, you didn't just drive 6 hours for nothing, so you better stay your ass out there. And then I talked to her a little bit, and that helped. And so I was like, all right, let me just make it out there. So I got there like close to 11. Right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I got off. We closed at 10. It takes like an hour. They give us an hour to close, but it doesn't take an hour. It took me like half an hour. I dropped a friend off, and by the time I got back to like where we were meeting, which was the Motel 6 / Denny's, because they're right next to each other, he literally was like, I just pulled up and I had just gotten off the freeway and it's right there. So it was like the timing was just impeccable.
Just perfect.
Yeah.
So when we first met, she like had pulled up and I got out of the car, and I was like thinking, I'm like, is she gonna get out of the car and say hi, or like do I just get in? Like, what's like not awkward, weren't on the same page about how we were meeting each other. So I like walked up to the car and she was just like, hey, you can get in. And I was like, for sure. So we she changed whatever. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings and only ordered fries and mozzarella sticks, which we didn't eat at all. We had like a couple, maybe.
We talked forever though.
Yeah, we talked until they were about to close, which is like 2-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we went back to
motel.
the Motel 6, and we talked till like 4 or 5 in the morning. We're both like obviously exhausted.
Yeah.
And she was like,
I didn't bring any clothes. I didn't want to like assume anything because we both knew that like, oh, we're into each other. You know, like we didn't really know where it was going, but like, you know, like we like each other. But I didn't want to assume I was staying because like that assumes other stuff, and I just didn't want to be like that person. So it was late, and he was already getting ready to like go to sleep and stuff, and I was like, am I supposed to stay?
and I was like, sure, if you want, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, woke up at like 7:30 or 8, and walked around campus, and then I had work. Was it that same day?
No, the next day.
Oh yeah, so we were sitting there, and I was like looking at the time, and I was like, man, like I gotta go home soon before this traffic gets really bad this weekend. And she was like, no, just stay. And I was like, okay. So I texted my my upper manager, and I was like, you know, told her a little BS. She never responded, so I was like, whatever, I'm staying. So I stayed again.
We found another motel.
It was better than the first one.
Yeah, it had a bigger bed.
Yeah, bigger bed.
Not to insinuate anything. It just had a larger bed.
Yeah, it just had a bigger bed.
So we got to the motel, we checked in, and I had already kind of like packed my stuff. We went back to like my dorm. We were already on campus, so we went back to my dorm. I got my stuff. We kind of like chilled out for a bit, and then we headed to the new motel. Relaxed. I think I took a nap. I don't know if you fell asleep, but we fell asleep, and I had to work at like 4 or 5. So he had to take me to work because we took his car. And then he had to pick me up. Yeah, so I closed. So I texted him when I was off, or when I was close to being off. I got us pizzas. We got back to the motel. Didn't really eat the pizzas because they had been sitting there for a while, so they were kind of gross. And then like did the same thing, like just like relaxed. We didn't talk as much because we kind of like had talked ourselves out. So we watched a lot of like Family Feud, all of like my corny TV shows that I like. We were watching TV and just like relaxing, and it got to like we kind of stayed up late that night, like 3 maybe. It got to like maybe like 1 or 2, and we were just getting like cuddly and stuff. And it just like one thing to another, and we were like, you know, kissing and stuff like that. And that's kind of how that started.
But that's it though.
The extent of that.
It wasn't like, oh, one thing led to that.
No, it was just like we were.
We stopped right there. But like, fast forward to like when I was going home the next day, I didn't know what like the vibe was, I guess.
Yeah, I had made it really clear that I didn't want to date, and then like invited him up to stay with me, and then like we made out. So it was, I understand.
I was 17 different kinds of confused, let me tell you. So I'm like on my way home, and I called Nigel, and I'm like, man, this is what's going on. I don't even know if she likes me. He's like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you just drove 8 hours, stayed there for 2 days. Like what do you mean? And I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, but I didn't ask.
No,
like,
he's a gentleman.
I didn't want to be like, so what are we? I didn't want to be like
that guy.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't do that. You know.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But we ended up talking about it like not too long after.
No, a couple days.
Yeah, and it was like, so like we're doing this, or we were like, yeah, we're doing this, and that was like our anniversary date is like May 4th. And this was just last year, mind you, and we're already engaged and pregnant, but we'll get to that. When I went home, he met my family and like went to my sister's graduation party. I have a very big family, so it was very overwhelming, but yeah, we went to San Francisco. I came back home again. We went to my family reunion, which is even worse because there's just a lot of people, and it just kind of like, you know, went from there. From that point on, I didn't really go home, so he came up a lot, which is a lot of like plane rides and drives and stuff like that. Thank God, because I couldn't go home. Ride. Yeah, I was so caught up with like school and stuff, and my schedule was just like Monday through Friday. So I couldn't really go home for too long, but he could at least come up like during the week. Like if I had class, like I would go in the morning, come back, and then we'd hang out and stuff. That's kind of how we started dating, and it escalated fast, I think. Yeah.
Pretty fast, yeah.
Yeah, we knew like from when we had first like after that weekend, definitely like, oh yeah, like this is this is my guy. Yeah. So thanks for watching our video. In our next video, we want to talk about like, you know, like how we found out we were pregnant and telling people and things like that.
Basically the whole process up to now.
Yeah, up to now and like the weeks leading up. I'm currently 18 weeks, so I'm almost halfway through our pregnancy. But that process from finding out to like
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been like really
Intense.
hectic. Yeah, so
It's been intense.
we want to share that with you guys. Like and subscribe, share this with your friends. If you know anyone that's pregnant, tell them we can relate. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Until next time.
Bye.